Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI Live Noding. In this episode, I want to try to think about some kind of pipeline that works inside Blender. I want it to work together with animation nodes and Sverchok as a procedural kind of tools. But in order to do that, I need to understand Blender's ways of linking another object, for example, another blend data from one file into another blend files. Linking in Blender and kind of like overriding the materials, texture, and all that is actually still something that's confused me, to be honest. There's a few articles and a lot of questions talk about the same thing, and I don't think there's a proper answer to that. There is one here from Jason's blog. It's from 2014, talking about linking and appending. While linking a group object is simple enough, if you don't want to do like any modification, whether it's for the armature animation or kind of overriding the material. If you don't want to do that, it's easy enough. You just link a group objects from another blend file into an empty, and it's kind of like working, right? We already saw it in the previous live noding. But if you want to do some kind of overriding to the material color, for example, or texture based on another Blender file, it still confused me. There's a lot of documentation that I read and a lot of questions and answers, but I still don't get it. But anyway, I found one that actually works, and I'll do it today. I'm not gonna work with multiple objects and armature yet. I just want to work with a single object. For example, I can work with this cube, for example. This is the basic scene. I'm gonna delete everything else. I'm just gonna have a cube. I don't even need to group it because it's just a single object. I'm gonna save it real quick. So this is I call it cube A. The idea is like this. We have one single object mesh data, and then we want to be able to give it a different material in different blend file. So I'm gonna create a new scene. And actually I'll delete everything and I'm gonna append. Instead of appending will bring the data and the whole thing into this scene, but linking is the one that we want to understand. So I'll link our cube object. Let me find the cube. So it's called cube A, and I don't have any grouping, I just have the object, so I'll just link this object. Okay, so this object appears in this light blue color, and I can't do anything with it. I cannot scale it, cannot rotate, cannot move it. And this guy, if you look at in the outliner, you can see this guy is pointing into this data, and there's this arrow thing that means like it's linking to another blend file. So okay, I'll save this, and I'll save this as link cube 001. I can always go back to that cube and make changes. For example, this cube A, I'll switch to cycles render actually, get rid of the material, and then I will create a new materials for the cycles. There is this thing, a funny thing about this is by default it's link the material to objects data. There's a lot of questions in the forum, and the answer is saying that you need to switch this to objects in order to be able to change the material in different blend files. I still don't quite understand that part. I can switch it to data and objects, but it doesn't matter too much from what I see. So I'll just keep it at data, and I'll give it a color so you can see it. Okay, it's a red color here. If I switch to the other blend file, I should actually get this guy in red color or something. And I need to switch to cycles. Okay, now it seems to be working. So the material is following the other blend file. So I can again change it to green now. Go back to the link for cube. Okay, now it's green. Okay, cool. But if I want to make changes here, I cannot seem to be able to do that. So there's one method that I know that will actually work if we make a proxy. I don't know how proxy works with armature or animation yet, but I will look into that. For now, if we have this blue objects, link object selected, if I actually tap and then say make object make proxy, Control Alt P, or if I select object and make proxy somewhere here, okay, make proxy, it allows me to turn this blue objects into this orange color, and suddenly I'm able to move this thing around. Okay, so that's cool. I cannot edit it. I don't think I can edit it, but I can at least transform it, and maybe I can give it a different material. I'll give it a try real soon. So this is a cube proxy, and let me scale it back to 111. And I try to give it a material, and no, it doesn't allow me. Actually, I can make material for the data, but what I need to do is to switch this to object and then assign a new material. Now this is actually like it's working as just the way I want it to. So I can have a different objects material, but the data itself is still green. But the one assigned to the objects, the proxy objects, is blue, and I can actually make a couple of these, and that seems to be the right way to do it. Now I can actually go back to the cube A and make modification. For example, I go to edit mode here and go to face, maybe make a few extrusion, just a few modification. Okay, that seems to be okay. It seems to be working, and go back to link cube. Okay, it's updated properly. Cool. So that seems to be working fine. And what after a bit of experimentations last night, I also think that we can kind of instance this using animation nodes or Sverchok using empty. So I like that empty kind of workflow. Like if you have like an empty here and you want to have an object that's linked to the empty to make duplications, I like that ideas actually. In order to do that, we need to have group. Okay, so we have this cube proxy, and I can make a couple of duplicates, and I know I want to give it like a different material. Like this one is green. Actually, don't use green, use red, and another one maybe different color, like purple, because our original data material is actually green. So I want to keep it like this. So we have these blue objects, and these guys will actually update if I go back to the cube A here and then make another modification here. Maybe subdivide it. I don't know. Maybe extrude individual, scale. Okay, scale individual, and then make another extrusion. Extrude it again. Scale. Extrude it again. So it's starting to resemble something from Star Wars. But it's very simple. I guess this is kind of cute. Oops. Extrude it out. Okay, that's okay. I don't know what it is. What do you call this? 8080? Anyway, that's a very simple model. But I make modification. If I go back to the other blend file, the blue one actually updates itself, but this guy doesn't update itself. Why? Now we gotta check the data, and then this guy is looking at the wrong data somehow. This should be looking at the link object data. So that's really important. There's a data, mesh data, and there's material, and there's material for the data and the material for the object itself. So yeah, that's something we need to get used to. This guy, cube A, I actually move him up, right? But it doesn't change. Maybe I need to do it in the edit mode. Move it up like that on the ground and save it. I really like this workflow. So you can have like multiple blend files, multiple assets, and then the things with link object is they're gonna update nicely. So that's very important. And then yeah, go back to the grouping thing. If I group this guy, Control G, Control G, and Control G, and I don't know if they have the same name or not. They have different name. Good. So this, I'll call this group red, and this one group blue, and this one group purple. So now I have 3 groups that I can use inside this on this empty. I like this workflow once again because we can just use the duplication of the group and then select either it's a group red, group purple, or group blue. Although you might notice that they are not exactly in the positions because when you group an object, it needs to be in the at 0, 0, 0. So I'm gonna do that. Now I can make like duplication with empty, and I can kind of assign this kind of instancing very easily. I can make this green, actually blue, okay, easily. So I want to do that. I want to use this technique, and I'm gonna use animation nodes to do that actually. So I'm gonna delete all this empty that I don't need. Just have one. This is empty master, I call it. And I switch to compositing and switch to animation nodes, and then turn on material so we can see it. So we have this empty, and we know that we can use object instancer for the empty. And I can select the empty master, and then we can say use line, for example, line mesh, and this is gonna be our point position. We're gonna generate a loop, and this point position can go in there, for instance, and then we create a vector list. This is gonna be the vector goes inside the loop, so we can use it for the object. All we need to do is just to plug in the objects and the vector positions, and hopefully we have our result. Okay, it's being duplicated up. That's not what I want. Duplicate it in the x-axis maybe. Cool. Okay, now. Okay, wait. Okay, we have a bunch of this character now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 6 of them being duplicated on the fly. You can make more, of course, very easily. So it's now under control using animation nodes. And the cool thing about this is we can actually make changes to this empty. I'm gonna bring this up actually. Duplications, we can change it to group red or group blue, and I want to be able to do that procedurally. So procedurally we need to use object attribute output, and for these objects I know that this guy, if I right click, copy data path, paste it here, we have the dupli group. With the dupli group set to none, we don't have any duplications. But if we use like group input here, actually not group input, something else, group output, no, that's the wrong thing as well. Object group input, I think that's the one. Okay, so there's a group blue, group purple, and group red. Okay, that's something we can use definitely. We can make that adjustment inside here. Let me quickly hide our original master group. By the way, this 1, 2, 3 object, maybe I'll just put it in a different layer. So now we just have the instance one. This is the original, this is the instance one, this is our master empty. And what's next? We want to be able to have variations maybe. So for the variations, group object group input, we can maybe make a group list somehow of group list, and so we're gonna have our variation blue, purple, red here, plug into this guy, and it doesn't like it because we need to use list item if I'm not wrong. Item list element, get list element. Okay, so we have list, and then we have, now we turn this group purple, blue, and red selection into number 0, 1, 2. Now that there are numbers, like they're numeric, we can easily randomize our instance using animation nodes. Random number, plug this index into the seed, minimum, maximum 0 to 2. We're gonna get random number hopefully, and we get a variation between 0 and 2. Maybe we need to make this 3. Okay, seems to be working now. If I change this to yellow perhaps, so this red material, I change this to yellow, it works. I can go back to this guy, and then everything works. This is exactly the setup that I managed to make it to work. Maybe this is not the most correct, I'm not sure, but it seems to work for a single object. If I have multiple objects, multiple parts of the objects, and they are linked into the blend as a group, it gets a little bit confusing because it's starting to ask proxy for every part of the objects. That's a little bit confusing for me. Maybe I kind of need to join it. Maybe if I join it into a single object and then kind of use armature, that seems to work. But if I have a like a multiple part of objects, that's this guy will start to ask multiple proxy, and then it gets a little bit tedious to do it. Anyway, I'll try with grid mesh, and at least for a single object seems to be working fine. I tested this last night, and this works really fast. I really like, pretty happy with the result. You can have like 400, I don't know, actually not too many, maybe just 100 for now. I tried it with 10,000. It seems to be working, but I have control over everything. Transform wise, color, for color we can control it this way. So let's say we have this blue color, this material, we know this is cycle material. We can even randomize this guy, you know, like normal cycles way to do it. Let's say a color ramp, and I want to have like variations to the blue color, for example. Let's try doing that. Mix RGB, and let's say if I have yellow color and I want to mix like random black and white, I can use object info and random plug into this guy, and then color goes into this guy, and we should have variation somehow based on the object position. If I go back to this, I think it should work, unless I'm doing it wrong. Maybe add or multiply. Location to the vector doesn't make changes. Object index, material index, random. It's actually seen as a single object. Maybe I was wrong. This doesn't actually work. I was expecting it to work like if we try HSV and give it like a red here and yellow here. Well, I wish it actually works with this yellow dude. Maybe it works if I render it out. Ambient occlusion on, background maximum. ambient off. One, okay, which one is this material? It's actually red material. I think it's actually working. See the red material have different color now. I can actually make this blue or green, for example, and we should have like red with yellow and other color. Let me set it to different color. Seems to be working. I think so. We have this green color, or maybe I'll make it to pink, and the pink have variations. Yeah, while the purple stay purple and yellow stay yellow, we have variation of this. Maybe I'll make this maroon and have this into other color, pink. Yeah, cool. It's actually working. Exactly what I wanted to work. So we have this empty master that I can simply hide, and we have this instance. Somehow we have a smaller guy. Did I scale it? No. Maybe I need to go back to animation nodes and maybe U and reset source data. Now everything's correct. Spread them apart. Okay, there you go. That's actually the setup that's currently I was thinking. Is we managed to have different materials for each proxy objects, which is a single mesh data or assets linked into this blend file, and I can have like a cycles material with a random value color on the red and pink here, and we have 3 different materials assigned to the proxy, and we can duplicate it using empty. I found out that with empty, if we have like 10,000 empties, it starts to get slow anyway. 10,000, 100,000, it's slow, so don't get too crazy with empty duplications. But if we use like dupliface is a lot faster. So if you want to have like a jungle, dupliface is really good for that. Maybe ideally you want to be able to do that using particle and instancing. Anyway, one day particle nodes, when we have like particle node system in Blender, it's gonna be really powerful, I think, because particles is really, it's like the holy grail, you know, particles with some kind of solver node that can do fluid or kind of good for explosion and stuff. That's a different problem. For now, at least we have some kind of idea of the system that we can work on. Pipeline wise, I think animation node Sverchok can work together, and which is nice. Sverchok can do like a mesh kind of a turbulence, or maybe like a terrain displacement. This guy can handle it like 1 million points, should be okay if you have good RAM, and you can use Blender's own displacement for the terrain, so it's really powerful. Anyway, pipeline wise, this is how I kind of imagine it should work. It can be simpler if Blender can easily override the material. Maybe it's not like that yet, but I'm still trying to understand Blender's own way to do the linking. I think this is one way to do it. Yeah, hopefully this is useful for you. Let me know if you actually made mistakes. Let me know in the suggestion below in the